jazzy on them.
Hi, okay, today we're going to be making homemade pizza. And first we're going to start with the dough. Now we're going to get 1.5 cups of warm water. And we want to make sure it's really hot, so we're going to let it warm up.
And you use a liquid measuring cup.
Oh yeah, liquid measuring cup. So 1.5 cups of water, which is right here. 1.5. And then you want to take it off and put it ground level so you can eye it. And that looks pretty good to me. So now we're going to pour it into the bowl. And then we're going to put 1 package of active dry yeast in it. And we're going to have to let it sit for 5 minutes. Okay, now we're going to add 1 package
into the water. And so we're going to let that set for about 5 minutes. Okay, so now we've let our yeast set for about 5 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and add 3.5 cups of flour.
And then we're going to level it off to make sure we have the exact measurement. And we're going to combine this with the yeast. So there's 1. And then level again for equal consistency.
Okay, so then there's 3, so now all we need is 1/2. Okay, so just level it off, and then there's all our flour.
And now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
Okay.
And we're going to pour it over a bowl, that way we get the exact amount.
Okay, so there's 1. And now there's 2.
And now we're going to do 2 teaspoons of salt.
Okay, so 1. And then there's our last one.
And now we're going to do just 1 teaspoon of sugar. And after we combine our sugar, flour, salt, and olive oil, we're going to put that on the electric mixer on high for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Now that we've mixed it for about a minute, we are going to knead the dough for about 10 minutes. So we're going to do that by hand because we don't have an electric kneader. And now we're just going to finish up kneading the dough. So that it's a smooth, elastic dough feeling.
Okay, so now we're going to preheat the oven for 150. So, a long way to go. Okay. Oh.
Okay, now that we have the dough is smooth and elastic, we put 1/4 teaspoon of olive oil in the bowl, and now we're going to slightly cover all the dough in the olive oil so that way when it goes into the oven it's able to double its size and rise. Okay, so now we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and once we did that we're going to rub it around so that the dough doesn't stick to the pan, and then we're going to put our ball of dough that has been covered slightly in olive oil on the pan, and we're going to let it sit in the oven for about 1.5 hours. So now we're going to stick this in, and then we're going to let it rise for about 1.5 hours.
Okay, so we had put our pizza dough into the oven for about an hour to let it rise. So we're just gonna check on it because it needs another half an hour. So right now that's what it looks like. The yeast has risen and everything, but we're gonna go ahead and put it in for another half.
Okay, so now the pizza dough has been in the oven for at least an hour and a half, and it's doubled in size, and now we're gonna let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna start making it to actually look like a pizza.
Okay, so before we put the pizza in, we're gonna preheat the oven to 450.
And then after we preheat it, we're going to punch the dough down so that it deflates, and then we're gonna make it into 2 balls of dough. Okay, so now we have the dough, and 2 balls of dough, and now we're gonna set it back on the tray for 10 minutes.
Okay, so now we're gonna start by peeling the garlic.
The tomato for the pizza sauce.
So for the pizza sauce. So yeah, just a peel in it. Okay, so for the pizza sauce, we're gonna mince 1 clove of garlic. So cut off the ends. And now we're gonna cut it or mince it. Okay, so we finished mincing the garlic that will go into the pizza sauce. So yeah.
Okay, so now I have peeled my onion, and we're gonna cut it finely and mince it so that it'll be able to be translucent when we saute it. So now I'm gonna start cutting the onion.
Watching you.
And I don't like cutting the onion. Okay, so now I'm gonna start mincing the onions, and this is gonna be for the pizza sauce. And we're gonna try to get them to be really tiny, that way when we saute them, we can get more for our whole sauce. Tell me when. Okay, so now that we have our onion finely minced, we're going to saute it. So first we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in. And then we're going to let that go. And then we're going to take a spoon. We're just going to cover it all on the bottom. And after we do that, we're going to put our onions in. And now we're going to saute them. And we're going to saute them until they're translucent.
Okay, so now we're going to add the 1 clove of garlic that we minced into the onions for sauteing.
And we're going to saute this for about 3 more minutes. Okay, so now that we finished doing our sauteed onions and garlic, we're going to put this in the saucepan.
After we add those, then we're going to add our pasta sauce. And right now we have this and then we're going to go in and add our tomato paste. Yeah. Okay, so we're finishing up adding in our tomato paste.
And now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of tarragon. Okay. Then 2 teaspoons of basil. And then 2 teaspoons of oregano. And then finally, 1 teaspoon of sugar. And now we're gonna stir this with this thing. And we're gonna stir
A spatula, a rubber spatula.
And we're gonna stir it, and then we're gonna cover it and let it sit for 30 minutes.
Right. We're gonna cover our sauce pot.
Okay, now that we've let our balls of dough stay at room temperature, we have our flouring surface, and we're gonna start making them look like pizzas. So we're gonna take the pizza, and we're gonna firm it out in our hands, and we're gonna start pushing it out. And every 5 minutes, we're gonna let it relax. That way we can keep pushing it farther to make a 10 to 12 inch pizza.
Just kneading it.
You guys got something on your face.
Okay, now that we have rolled our dough out, we're gonna let it relax for 5 minutes and then continue to stretch it.
Okay, so now that the dough is relaxed, we're gonna keep spreading it out until we get it to the desired size that we want it to be.
So we're gonna keep pushing it out and we're gonna keep flipping it over. And if there's any holes in it, just cover it with dough and you can just patch it back up.
Make sure you have a floury surface so it doesn't stick.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna sprinkle on the yellow cornmeal onto the pizza plates, that way they don't stick. So we're just gonna spread it all over. And you can use as much or as little as you want. It really just helps to thicken the crust. So now I'm just gonna spread this. And then you're gonna do the same for the other one, but since this one has holes, we're only gonna do the outside edges so it doesn't stick.
Okay, so using a pastry brush, we're gonna go in with some olive oil, and we're just gonna brush this on our dough, and this is just to keep the sauce from not making the dough all soggy. Alright, so now we're gonna grate the cheese using a microplane, and we're just grating into this bowl, and this will be for our pizza toppings. Okay, so now we're gonna put our pizza sauce onto the dough, so go ahead and do that. Just spread it all out.
Okay, now that we just put the sauce on the pizza, we microplaned some cheese. So now we're gonna put cheese on our pizza to make it cheesy. Just gonna spread it all around. It's like the hokey pokey.
Evenly distribute it.
And then we're gonna do the same thing to the other pizza, except instead of cheese, we're gonna do pepperoni. Yeah. Okay, now we're gonna put our pizzas in the oven for 30 minutes.
Put one on top, and then we'll put the other one in the middle. Okay?
And close them up.
And we'll set the timer for 30 minutes.
Okay, so now we just took our pizzas out of the oven, and one of them got a little bit overcooked, but the other one's cheese, but they look very good anyways. Okay, so now we're gonna make a ramen noodle salad, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour about 1/2 of this coleslaw mix into the bowl, and while you're pouring the coleslaw mix into the bowl, you're gonna crush a bag of ramen noodles, which is what Madeleine's gonna do.
Okay, so when you crush the ramen noodles, you can use whatever you want. So yeah. Okay, so now that your ramen noodles are crunched up and all of that stuff, we're gonna go add the flavoring into them.
And now that we have the flavoring, we're gonna mix the ramen noodle and the flavoring together.
So you can just use your hand for this. And don't worry, we washed it.
Alright, so now that we mix the seasoning with the noodles, we're gonna pour the noodles into the mix with the coleslaw. And after that, you're gonna take about 1/2 cup of the dry roasted sunflower seeds. And we're gonna pour that into the mix as well. And once you do that, we're gonna mix these 3 ingredients together until they're all mixed up.
Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and mix up the salad. So, just to get everything mixed up.
Okay, so now we're gonna start on the dark chocolate mousse. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna pour 1 packet of chocolate chips into the bowl, just like that. And then what you're gonna do from there is we're gonna put it in the microwave for about 20-second intervals until it's about finely melted. So we're gonna put it in the microwave.
Okay. And then we're gonna set it for 20 seconds at the beginning. And then we'll check up on it every 20 seconds until it's melted. Okay, so after you keep doing that, you want to take it out of the microwave. And it might not be still completely melted, but you just want to stir it after every time just to make sure it doesn't get burnt. So you just want to make sure everything's stirred up. And it's still more time to go, but this way you're not burning it and you get everything melted. Okay, so once the chocolate's all melted, it should look something like this, and it's all smooth, no clumps or anything like that. And we didn't overdo it because it's not burnt, so perfect. And after we stir it, we're gonna hold it at room temperature.
Alright, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the whipped cream to go with our mousse. And you're gonna take a bowl of ice and we're gonna pour it into another bowl so that we're gonna beat the heavy whipping cream over it to make it. So you're gonna pour about 14 ounces of this in. Just like that. And then with the electric mixer, we're going to beat it all over ice and then hold it at room temperature. Okay, so now that we have beaten the ice and the heavy whipping cream over the ice, we're going to set this aside at room temperature, and now we're going to work on doing the rest of the chocolate mousse.
3 eggs, and we only want the egg whites, so we're going to try not to get any of the yellows in the bowl. So now we're going to go back and forth with the yellows. We only get the egg whites. Okay.
Okay, so now that we have the egg whites in the bowl, we're going to gradually add about 1 ounce of sugar in. So we're going to take a pinch at a time, and we're going to put the mixer on low, and then we're going to gradually stir it until the eggs start to form peaks. Okay, so now that we have beaten the eggs and combined the egg whites and the sugar, we're going to pour the chocolate in, and we're going to fold it over, and then we're going to put in the whipping cream after. So it makes a mousse. Okay, so now that we've poured the chocolate in with the egg whites and the sugar, we're just going to start whisking them together so that it becomes more textury and adds a little bit more flavor. And after we're done whisking this, we're going to incorporate the whipping cream so it looks whipped. Okay, so now that we have our whipped cream set at room temperature, we're going to fold it into the chocolate. And we're going to do this gradually as it keeps getting to a lighter texture and more fluffier. Okay, so now we've poured in the whipped cream and we're just starting to fold it in so that it gets a lighter, fluffy texture and so that it starts to feel a little bit lighter chocolate than a dark chocolate. So now that we've finished whisking everything together, we're going to put some saran wrap on it, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator for an hour or until it's set and ready to be served.
Okay, so now we're going to get ready to make our bruschetta. So we're going to start off with tomatoes. We have about 6 tomatoes here, and first we're going to start by rinsing them. So, and after you rinse them off, we're just going to put them on a paper towel to let them dry.
Okay, so now that we have one tomato, we're going to slice and dice it. So we're going to start now.
Okay, now we're going to start slicing our bread for our bruschetta. So,
okay, so now that we have our baguette cut up for the bruschetta, we're going to put olive oil on the side of the bread, and we're going to place it face down so that when we put it in the oven, it'll toast better. Okay, so now we're going to put the baguette that we covered with with virgin olive oil on it, and we're going to put it in the oven at 450 for about 5 minutes. Ready?
okay, so now we're about to take out the bruschetta that we put into the oven for about 5 minutes. Okay. And then we're just going to lay this down. There we go.
Now, since we diced our tomatoes, we're going to do 2 cloves of garlic, and we're going to use the garlic press for our bruschetta so that it's all in here. And so that we get equal pieces since we have to mince it.
Go.
Okay, so now we have our fresh basil leaves, and we're going to rip them up and put them in our bruschetta so that it gives it a fresh mint. And don't be a dick like that. I'll let that one out.
Can we keep that in?
Can we just keep it in? I'm okay taking points off for that.
The dog is ready to go for the basil. She's like,
You can. Okay, now we're gonna do 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil into the bowl here. Struggling. There's a lot, but we'll just go put that in. After we do that, we're gonna do a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. And now we're gonna mix. Okay, now we're gonna do just a little bit of salt.
No.
And then
A little bit of pepper.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll mix that all together.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the baguette and we're gonna put our tomato and basil combination. We're gonna put it on the bread so that it can actually make bruschetta.
So we're gonna put it on. That looks so good. Okay, so for our side dish, we're gonna be making asparagus wrap and bruschetta. So first off, we're gonna wash our asparagus. Make sure it all gets washed off. And then we're just gonna set it on a paper towel to let it air dry.
Okay, so now we have that our asparagus is now freshly washed. We're gonna cut about 2 inches up the stem so that they're pretty much equal.
Okay, so now we're gonna take our asparagus in groups of 4, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap the bruschetta around it. We did it all off. Okay, and then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna want to wrap it around like that, and then you're going to take a toothpick. You want to stick it through so that the ends don't fall off. Just like that. And then you want to keep doing that. Okay. So now in groups of 4, we're going to go ahead and take our asparagus and wrap it in our bruschetta. So I'm going to get a piece of bruschetta. Then you're going to want to go ahead and wrap it around. So wrap it around. Like that. And then with a toothpick, you're going to want to secure the ends. So it looks like that. Okay, so before we put them in the oven, we're going to drizzle them in olive oil. So we're going to take our pastry brush, just drizzle them all over. Okay, now we're going to put them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Go ahead and put these in here. And we're going to go ahead and set our timer.
That was good.
It was really good. I particularly enjoyed the bruschetta and the salad. The basil and the bruschetta really brought out the flavor, and it was just like a party in your mouth.
I loved the meal. The chocolate mousse was definitely my favorite.
I really liked the pizza. The crust was really good, and so was the sauce, and the bruschetta was really yummy.